Welcome back, folks, for a new episode of Leaked. And today we're going to talk about a new upcoming Tier 10 premium Chinese medium tank, the 121B. So the 121B, in my opinion, is a prototype to the Type 79, which is basically an up-armored version of a T-54 with a British L7A1 Royal Ordnance 105mm gun. Yeah, this tank is way too OP. It has the same aspects, or the amazing aspects from both tech trees. The superior accuracy and penetration of the British L7A1, the gun that's on the Centurion 7.1, onto a Russian well-sloped frontal armor and well-rounded turret with very good mobility. Mix these two amazing aspects into one tank. That's the Type 79, and the 121B is a prototype to that tank. Holy crap, this tank is going to be OP. Super OP. So let's talk about the development process between the Type 59 leading up to the Type 79. So in the mid-50s, the Russian gave a few T-54s to China and they copied it, and the result was the Type 59. But during the mid-60s, the Chinese and the Russians had a fallout because their views of communism shifted, and the Russians weren't lending any more tanks to China. And in 1969, there was a Russian-Chinese border conflict. So during this small conflict, the Russians sent out 4 T-62s, and the Chinese destroyed one of them. So they hit the commander's hatch and killed the commander. The tank drove into the river, the Ussuri River, and afterwards the Chinese fished out the T-62, and they made copies of it, or they developed from that tank. So they added more stuff to the Type 59. So they added the dual axis stabilized 100mm smoothbore gun. They added a better engine, 580 horsepower instead of 520, and they added the Russian Luna infrared searchlight onto their tank and called it the Type 69. And in the mid-80s, when the Chinese and the Americans, or the West, has a better relationship, the Type 69 utilized a few of those Western technologies, like the British Marconi fire control system and the L7A1 gun, and they called this new tank the Type 69 Mark III, or the Type 79. So that's why you see a L7A1 gun onto a Chinese/Russian based tank chassis. This tank is going to be OP. Holy crap, it's what I always wanted, because the guns with the Russians, or the 100mm D10T variants, weren't that good in penetration. But if you're gonna put a L7A1, holy crap, you can brawl, you can snipe, you can flank, you can do everything. Holy jeez. So you can see the D10T variants with this muzzle brake right here. Or this is actually not a muzzle brake, it's a fume extractor or bore evacuator right here. So this is a variant of the D10T. This is a Type 59 right here. So you can see the Type 59. And later on, when the relationship between the Chinese and the West bettered, they put the L7A1 gun onto a Type 59, onto a Type 69, which later became the Type 79. So you can see it right here with this fume extractor right here. So this is the L7A1. And this is a Type 69, so they added a better fire control system, better computer inside the tank, and other stuff. So it still has the 100mm because of this fume extractor right here. So you can see that. Here is still another picture, same barrel, but they put the L7A1 gun. So you can see with this fume extractor right here. This is the L7A1 gun. This is a Type 69 right here. And later on, the Bangladesh and a few other countries modified the Type 69. They put a 120mm Rheinmetall L44 onto this tank, which could also fire missiles, but this is the L7A1 version. They also added the bricks, which is explosive reactive armor onto the tank, so better armor values, and a bunch of stuff. So yeah, this tank was very popular, and if you're going to have the high penetration of a British gun with the actual armor, or the best armor for a medium tank in the game, this tank is going to be OP. So OP. And here are the in-game models for the 121B. Now as you can see, this tank looks a lot like the Type 59 because it's derived from it, except for the gun barrel because of the distinct bore evacuator or fume extractor right here. So this is the L7A1 gun. So it is basically what you ever wanted out of a Chinese tank, except you have the accuracy and penetration. That's the same on the British/German tanks. Yep, gimme. This tank is a little bit longer than the normal T-54s or Type 59s. As you can see, this tank is a little bit longer. Not that much though. So a little bit longer, but eh. The frontal armor is 130 millimeters, well sloped, very trollish. The turret armor is also very good, 240. So this tank is, it's good. Holy crap. Yeah, this tank is amazing. Oh, it's a little bit longer than usual, but it's just like a foot. Not that much. Ass armor is, yeah, crap, but still, all ass armors are crap. Can't expect that much, right? So here are the main stats for the 121B. So it has 1,950 hit points. It's a tier 10 premium Chinese medium tank. Now, I have to explain that this might be a clan war reward or mission-based reward, so it's going to be hard to get this tank, but it's 1,950 health, which is alright for a tier 10 medium tank. It's on the short end side by not that much, so it's still decent. Engine power is 580, which is okay, good. Weighs about 40 tons. So power to weight ratio is about 14.5 with equipment, which is still decent. Top speed is 50 kilometers per hour. Reverse is 20, which is good. Hull traverse is very good, 50 degrees per second. Turn traverse is 41.7 degrees per second, which is also very good. Terrain resistance is amazing, 0.67 for hard, 0.76 for medium, and 1.4 for soft. That's amazing. View range is also very good, 400 meters. Radio range is standard, above 700. Hull armor is 130 at the front, 80 at the sides, 60 at the rear, which is good. Turret armor is 240 at the front, 160 at the sides, and 60 at the rear, which is very good. The gun is a L7A1, 105mm, has 261mm of penetration, 390 damage per shot. Rate of fire is not that good, so only 5.7 rounds per minute, about 6 rounds per minute with a gun rammer and vents. So DPM on this tank is not that good. It's only 2,200 or so, 2,500 with gun rammer and vents, but yeah, that's actually the weak spot about this tank is the DPM. Reloads every 10 seconds with the gun rammer. Accuracy is very good, 0.316 for a Chinese tank, that's pretty good. Aim time is decent, 2.11 seconds. Gun depression is Russian, 5 degrees. Gun elevation is 18 degrees, which is alright, but the weak spot about this tank is the DPM. It's only 5.7 rounds per minute, 6 rounds per minute. So DPM is about 2,500 or so, which is tier 9 status. Almost the same as the Centurion 7.1. So that's the only lacking part about this tank. Now remember, if it's using L7A1 gun, it might use HESH ammo as the premium gold rounds. If this tank uses HESH, it will deal 480 damage per shot. So the DPM will increase to about 3,000 with the gun rammer and vents. So you can actually negate the DPM or the weak spot about the DPM with HESH if this tank has HESH rounds, but they didn't tell me that. So for now, this tank only has one weak spot, and that's the DPM, but it still has the armor, Still have the gun penetration. It could still snipe and flank. And that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. And let's compare the 121B with the 121. Now a quick note about the size of these two tanks before we start. Both tanks have a longer hull than the Russian counterpart. So you can see when I turn on the collision model, the 121B and the 121 is a little bit longer than the Russian T-62A. So that is because of the turret. The turret is a little bit bigger because the gun is bigger, so you have to have a bigger turret. With a bigger turret, you have to have a bigger turret ring, and with a bigger turret ring, you have less space for engine blocks and other stuff. So you have to increase the hull length to incorporate the bigger turret. So that's a trade-off for having a bigger gun, is longer hull armor. But quite alright. Also, you can see that the 121 has side sponsons from the hull than the 121B. You see that? There's no T-shape with the 121B, whereas on the 121 you have a T-shape. So this is a weak spot. It gives you more surface area to be shot at, and when you're cresting a hill, someone could shoot your tracks out and even penetrate underneath your hull armor right here. So I've done that with Yak Panzer E100s just by detracking them and shooting them up into the lower end or bottom end of the sponsons on their hull, which sucks. So you're permanently detract and you're getting damage. So yeah, don't do that. Don't crest. Never crest hills. Alright, so let's look at the stats. So we can see that these two tanks have the same health. The 121 weighs 1 ton less than the B version. Both tanks have the same engine power, and power to weight ratio is mostly the same. Top speed is better by 6 kilometers on the 121 than the B version, but the B version has a lot better terrain resistance. Way better. Holy crap, that's way better terrain resistance. 0.1 less for hard, 0.1 less for medium, and 0.3 less for soft. That's pretty crazy. That's good. View range is the same. Radio range is the same. Alright. So basically the 121B is more mobile than the 121. That's good. Let's look at the gun. The gun is better penetration than the Derpy 122mm on the 121, but it does less damage, and the DPM is not as good. However, the 121 is the second best DPM dealer out of all medium tanks at tier 10. The first one is the STB. So yeah, the DPM is not as good, but remember, you could fire if there's the option of firing Hesh, then the DPM increase, but we don't know yet. But for now, DPM is not as good, so that sucks. Alright. However, you have better accuracy than the Derpy 122mm. So 0.31 accuracy in comparison to 0.33. Aim time is also better, 2.1 seconds in comparison to 2.6 seconds. Also, the 121 has 3 degrees of gun depression. This sucks. And only 15 degrees of gun elevation, whereas on the 121B you have 5 degrees, which is a godsend because 5 degrees of gun depression is way better than 3 degrees. I can tell you that from fact. That's way better. So yeah, you might have a better DPM with the 121, but you could hardly aim your gun because of 3 degrees of gun depression and 15 degrees of gun elevation. So it's actually a little bit better gun handling on the 121B. The DPM is not so good, so it's alright, but you don't have the weak spots like the side sponsons, and you're more maneuverable than the 121. So you trade all of that for DPM if you're playing the 121, the normal version. But I would rather have the gun depression and the mobility than the high DPM because I can just hide and snipe all the time. So yeah, the 121B, not that bad. And the final verdict about the 121B is that this tank is still a little bit better than the 121 in my opinion, because you have the gun depression, accuracy, aim time, and the mobility. and you have better armor with less weak spot than the side sponsons on the tank. So this tank is a little bit better. The only weak spot about this tank is the DPM, but DPM is still not that bad. It's a tier 9 medium tank's DPM, so it's still roughly okay. So you have to stay at medium range and continue sniping, but still pretty decent. And you can still brawl. It has armor, it has the mobility, and the gun depression. You couldn't even aim at lower plates with 3 degrees of gun depression sometimes. So 5 degrees of gun depression is a godsend. So yeah, this tank is still pretty goddamn good. And I think it's going to be a Clan Wars reward or mission-based reward. But hopefully mission-based because I don't play Clan Wars. So I really want one of these tanks and it's pretty OP. Pretty OP. It's crazy good. Jesus. So the only weak spot is the gun depression. That's it. That's pretty much it. I cannot think of anything else. It has good hull traverse, 50 degrees per second. Amazing terrain resistance. View range is still decent, 400 meters. Turret traverse is still decent, 42 degrees per second. Alright. Top speed is 50 kilometers per hour. Good. Power to weight ratio is still decent, 14.8. Health is alright, above average. Penetration is good. Damage is low, so DPM is low, but whatever, that's the only weak spot. Accuracy is still pretty goddamn good for a Chinese tank, so 0.31 accuracy for something like 0.35 accuracy average for most Chinese tanks, so that's still pretty good. Aim time is good. Gun depression is still good compared to 3 degrees of gun depression, and compared to only 15 degrees of gun elevation, this tank is pretty good. So yeah, give me. But thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment below on what you think about the 121B. Subscribe to my channel for more World of Tanks stuff. Rate this video if you can. That would help me out a lot. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. And as always, thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.